Hey, what's up guys, it's Paralyzar. Today we're going to be talking about a 5.4 Retribution guide. Now, it's pretty late in the season to be talking about that, but I get a lot of messages lately asking, Para, why are people using Execution Signs? Why are people not using Holy Prism? What glyph should I be using? What glyphs are important? What's your rotation? That kind of stuff. What add-ons do you use? Now, this is just going to be a short video. I'm not going to talk a lot about add-ons. I'm not going to talk a lot about what you can see on the screen. I want to talk about the glyphs, and I want to talk about your talents, explaining why certain abilities are used at the moment and why some are overlooked. Okay guys, so the most important part of this video, the big thing we're going to talk about, because this guide is about Ret Paladin survivability, we're going to talk about the most important ability to Ret Paladins. And you might be thinking, well, it's probably Wings, right? No, it's got to be Bubble. No, actually, it's Divine Protection. And you might be going, what? What in the hell are you talking about? Well, basically, Divine Protection, without any active talents such as Unbreakable Spirit, you can see here that Divine Protection is an ability that, without Unbreakable Spirit, is a 1-minute cooldown that gives you 40% magical damage reduction by 40% magical damage reduction for 10 seconds, and without Unbreakable Spirit, it's on a 1-minute cooldown. Basically, the reason this is so important is because when you lack survivability, the more damage reduction you have, the better off you are. Now, there is a problem with this ability that people really do get confused on, and that is when to use Glyph of Divine Protection and when not to use it. Because what Glyph of Divine Protection does is it removes 20% of that magic damage reduction, but adds 20% physical reduction. Now, you might say, hey, that's really good. That's like the best of both worlds. Well, that's kind of true, but against Wizard Cleaves, you need that 40% damage reduction. So, here's my little task for you guys. Now, I am going to show this in the arena, but this is my task for you guys, is that every time you go in an arena as a Ret Paladin, I want you to always check your glyphs. You should do this as every class, but especially as Ret. Because if you have Glyph of Divine Protection active against a mage, when he deep freezes you, you're probably going to die. Unless you have Trinket up or something, but it's really nice to have that. Sorry, Divine Protection. Do not use Glyph of Divine Protection against mages, it's really bad. Even if they have a rogue as a teammate, you still want regular old 40% damage Divine Protection. Now, you might be saying, hey, well, what other glyphs do I use? Well, as you can see here, I have Glyph of Word of Glory, and basically, when you use Glyph of Word of Glory on an ally, it'll give you 3% damage increase. So, for each Holy Power, you're going to gain 3% damage. So, say you use 3, you'll gain 9%. And that's pretty good. But, the other question I get a lot is, why do people use Double Jeopardy? Now, the reason people use Double Jeopardy is to save that Holy Power so you don't have to expend it. And then, as you can see here, is when you heal an ally. So you're going to be healing yourself either way. Because of survivability at the moment, you're going to be healing yourself a lot. So what's really nice is getting that little 20% damage increase when you switch targets. So you could Judgment the Priest and then swap to the Mage. I would recommend Judgmenting a different DPS, not the healer, because it will break CC. So, you go ahead and judge a target. You're going to gain 20% damage on your next Judgment cast. And Judgment hits pretty hard at the moment. So it's fair to say that both of these are viable. As you can see here, depending on the comp, I'm using Word of Glory because I play with a Hunter a lot in 2s. I'm going to go ahead and use Word of Glory probably. But Double Jeopardy is fine. I just don't want to break CC in 2s, basically. Okay guys, so before we move on into the talents, I will tell you, because I forgot in the glyph part, the other glyphs that are kind of mandatory, I would always recommend having them active, is Glyph of Burden of Guilt, so you can keep up to your target and keep them slowed, and Glyph of Templar's Verdict. Now the reason for this is that 10% damage can't be bad. It's always good. So every time you use Templar's Verdict or Exorcism, which you'll be using a lot every time they're on cooldown basically, you want to be using that glyph for that 10% less damage taken. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the talents and talk about the big guys here. The level 15 talent you'll be using is Long Arm of the Law. Against 1 to 2 comps, you could be using Speed of Light. For level 30, you're going to want to be using Fist of Justice. Now, the reason for that is that Repentance and Evil as a point of view are just too hard to cast well in an arena, because you're probably going to be getting trained anyway. Now, a lot of people would argue the point that, yes, you could Aura Mastery to use that, though. Yes, but against Wizard Cleaves, you'll need Aura Mastery to survive. And I say that like wholeheartedly. I use that shit to live, because you don't want to be getting Chaos Bolted for 200,000 and not have Aura Mastery up to live. And it also helps your healer free cast. The next one is going to be Selfless Healer. Now, Selfless Healer is so good. because it gives you that instant flash of light. It's really nice. Every time you Judgment, you basically gain 30% increase cast speed on flash of light until it's an instant cast. 35% thing, technically, I guess. I don't know. The next talent is Unbreakable Spirit. You might be saying, what about Clemency? That's a fine talent too. This is where it starts to get interesting, because you can use other talents as ret now. Before, Unbreakable Spirit, what it did was every time you use an ability, it would decrease the cooldown on your Divine Shield, Divine Protection, and Lay on Hands. Now that they've changed it in patch 5.4, Unbreakable Spirit is an automatic 50% reduction on those cooldowns. Now, you can go ahead and cross Lay on Hands out of there. That's not even needed. But that big ability we talked about earlier, guys, that most important ability is Glyph of Divine... I keep doing it. Divine Protection. It's so very important. And this does help with that a lot. So against any mage comp, you can safely use Unbreakable Spirit. And against other comps. Now, you might be asking, what comp do you want to switch from that? That sounds really good, right? And because it also gives you that 50% reduced Divine Shield. That's like a 3-minute bubble, man. 2.5, I guess. Now, against melee cleaves, you can use Clemency. You might say, why? Why? If Unbreakable Spirit's so good, you know, everyone's using it now. That's because there are a lot of wizard cleaves still. It's very common. Every season there's always wizard cleaves, so it's fine to use. And against certain melee cons, yes, it's fine to use Unbreakable Spirit. But again, 20% damage, 20% magic reduction, 20% physical reduction isn't that great. I mean, there's no reason to use it against a warrior. The Glyph, yes, use it against a warrior. I'm like really messing myself up here. Use the Glyph against a warrior, but Unbreakable Spirit isn't necessarily needed just for that. Against that comp, you can use Clemency. Against anything with a warrior, it's safe to use Clemency. You're going to say, why? Well, because your Hand of Protection can break people out of a warrior fear. If you didn't know that, start practicing it, because it's very important. Clemency is nice because it allows you 2 Hand of Protections, 2 Hand of Salvations, 2 Hand of Sacrifices, and 2 Hand of Freedoms. You can kind of cross Hand of Salvation out of there. It's not really good in PvP. I don't even know if it's usable in PvP. Hand of Protection, very important. Hand of Freedom is also very important. And Hand of Sacrifice is one of the most important abilities to Paladins. The next talent tree, we're going to go ahead and say it's safe to say that you want to be using Holy Avenger at all times. It's just the better one. Divine Purpose, maybe. I don't really like Sanctified Wrath. Personally, if you're going to play with me, I recommend Holy Avenger. Now, this last tier, the level 90 tier, is where people are really starting to be like, well, I like this, and I like this. It's kind of opinion-based, but Execution Sentence when against Wizard Cleaves, if it gets dispelled, you can pretty much instantly kill someone. It's really good for that reason. Also, it's good to time hammers with. Say it hits the last proc and Execution Sentence hits for 150k, but you can also throw Hammer for 100k and then they die anyway. Now, with this ability, you lose a little bit of survivability. It's not something you really want to use on yourself. As you'll see in this clip I'm about to show you guys, I had to use it on myself, and I had no intentions of doing that, so I accidentally, I had to click on my nameplate. I don't like using this ability on myself. Holy Prism is very nice. I always macro Holy Prism when I play. I macro it for both allies and myself, and that's because I love this ability. Now, I've been using Execution Sentence lately just to kind of make this video for you guys, but I do like Holy Prism Clemency a lot. Holy Prism, basically, it can either heal your allies, or it can heal yourself, or it can deal damage and heal at the same time. The only problem with healing with it is that you can break CC. That's kind of a pain, so be really careful when you're timing that stuff. But I guess that's going to do it for the talents today. But we're going to talk about a little bit more of the stuff in this next clip I'm going to show you guys. Alright, so, sorry, in this arena, you're going to see Ret Hunter versus Priest Mage. Now, for some of you guys that play this, you're really sketchy about facing this comp, because you're really worried you're going to die. You see I trinketed that first Deep Freeze? I do have Divine Protection active now, and I don't have the Glyph activated, so I have 40% damage reduction. We forced the Mage block with all of my cooldowns up, so I swapped to the Priest a little bit. I'm going to force his Trinket out here. That's all my plan was there, is to force his Trinket. I see that we can almost kill him. I try to force another CD, like Guardian, but it just didn't happen, so we swap back to the Mage. We're going to try to shut down some of his damage. Now, as you can see here, I'm using Emancipate a lot. I'm making sure that I'm not getting Deep Freezed again. Now, even though it's on cooldown, you never want to get Deep twice. So, as you can see there, I got Deeped. I did have Divine Protection up, but I probably would have died, so I went ahead and bubbled. I sacked my Hunter out of a CC. Now, I'm just going to kind of kite and heal, and this is how you're going to play this comp now. Your Hunter can do a lot of damage if given the right amount of time. You're going to see that I hit that Mage to get my my Templar Verdict Glyph active, and I use Divine Protection, trying to shut down as much damage as I possibly can. Coming back out just to get some Holy Power stacks, maybe get some damage on him, because remember, his block is on cooldown. Well, it was, anyway. So, I'm going to get back into loss of this guy, or out of loss of this guy, and start healing myself again. Kiting the mage at this point is all you're trying to do. As you can see, I stay of execution myself. I don't like doing that, as I said earlier, but I had to stay alive. My Divine Protection's back up already. It's only been 30 seconds, but remember, guys, Unbreakable Spirit against mages is really good. He deeps me, but because I had Divine Protection active, I was fine. Didn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and start CCing this priest a lot and keeping myself topped off. I'm going to blind him out of this Hodge. We're going to get a lot more damage on this mage. He has no block anymore. So there's a good chance he can go down. He doesn't quite die yet, so I'm going to run off and start healing, because I know that he can kill me after this Living Bond proc, so I'm going to start healing myself. He gets a little bit more topped off, but I should be fine, right? Because I'm kiting, he can't get in range of me, I'm just staying away. Now, the reason it's okay for me to do this is because he doesn't want to swap to my hunter. He wants to stay on me, he wants to train me into the ground, because I'm a Ret Paladin. Now, my hunter gets cheaped here, but it doesn't really matter. The mage can't get to me, so I'm going to keep kiting. My cooldowns are back up. This mage doesn't have a block anymore. I have all the cooldowns in the world. I'm going to run out and just start throwing stuff at him. I trinket this fear. Now, basically what I'm waiting for is this priest to be in sight. I'm going to Hodge him and then just blow this mage up. I trinketed the fear, and now I'm eating it deep. Very luckily survived that. Now I have big CDs up and giant heals, so I almost topped myself off. Not literally, but figurative. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to show you that there is some ret survivability if you play your heart out. It's so important that you just play your hardest in every single game trying to survive. As you can see against that mage priest team, I tried really friggin' hard to live, and I was kiting, I was running behind pillar, I was playing like a healer basically. I was just getting out of there, and it allowed us to win that game. Now, some of the other things that I wanted to touch on were, make sure that you check your glyphs every single game. Know when to use what spec, and if you guys can figure that out, you can definitely get rating. But for now, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. With much love, Paralyzar.